the season for the Los Angeles Lakers, in my opinion, was done for. They just needed to win more games, and they just couldn't get it done.
Well, I mean, we talked about it, the Western Conference. There's only one team out of the top 8 that is even possible to make the playoffs. I mean, it is tough there.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the worst team, and you look at the worst team in the Western Conference. I believe what has
Phoenix?
36. No, not in the Western Conference, in the playoff. And so,
Okay.
what'd you say? 36 wins that the Kings have.
Yep.
You go back to the Eastern Conference. 36 wins would put them in. Well, it still put them in the 8th spot. But it's nowhere near as close as it is in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
You got a couple of teams. There are still 2 teams that could fight for that 8th spot, and everybody else is just there. So it's different, man. The Western Conference is tough, and we said it. Said it. Hey, LeBron James has been in the Eastern Conference. He left the Eastern Conference. First season he left the Eastern Conference. What happened? Didn't make the playoffs. It just shows you that how tough the Western Conference really is compared.
12 years is a long time, man. We should have got some statistics on what was out there. I wonder what kind of YouTube was. I think I saw something where YouTube was just starting. I'm sure flip phones were all the rage. I'm sure MySpace was probably in his last couple of days when the last time he didn't make the playoffs. It's just crazy. Like I said, man. 4th of July, fireworks and barbecue, NBA playoffs, LeBron James. Not being in there is crazy. And we'll have to see what he does. Is he going to be on TNT commentating? I doubt it. I'd have to see what he does. I'd like to see LeBron James do something kind of like what Kobe Bryant and Peyton Manning did with that ESPN Plus, that detail special they did. Yeah. I would love to see LeBron James breaking down playoff games, talking about players' games throughout the playoffs. That'd be something cool to see a guy who's a basketball guru kind of talking about people and breaking down people's games. I'd be interested to see that.
Speaking of which, did you see, I believe it was Dennis Smith Jr., he's with the Knicks now, and they had him on like a podcast or something like that, and they were saying, here it is, and it was like, they showed a picture of him in Knicks jerseys, and it was Kyrie, it was Kevin Durant, and it was Zion, and it was Dennis Smith Jr., and they showed him, and they were like, what would you think about this? And he was like, come on, man, come on, y'all, he was all excited, he was like, y'all look good in that orange and blue, like, he was like, call me, like, he was basically, I mean, I'm not going to call it tampering or whatever, but hey, right, but he was like, yes, call me, let's make it happen.
That would be cool.
I mean, he was so excited, it was awesome to see, the look on his face when they literally put him up there. You know how they do that. They just put him in their jersey. Yeah. But still, hey, Kevin Durant did look pretty tight in that orange and orange. Yeah,
we'll have to see, man. The NBA offseason is going to be giving us lots to talk about. Now, the last topic we wanted to talk about in the show was MVP. We talked about it at the halfway point. I know you had Giannis Antetokounmpo as your MVP at the halfway point, and I was all about Joel Embiid. I think, in my opinion, Giannis kind of just stayed the same, if not even elevated this game a little bit. Of course, Embiid got injured, missed a bunch of games, kind of fell out of the NBA conversation. But one thing that did not change through that whole time is James Harden being an unstoppable force of nature. He had the 30 points per game streak going on. We had 50-point games, 60-point games, step-back threes to win games. We had fouls with game-winning free throws. His level of play has done nothing but increase. And, oh, by the way, knock on wood, Chris Paul is back healthy. We pray the basketball gods give us one time, finally, where Chris Paul doesn't get some kind of soft tissue injury in the playoffs. But even with CP3 being on the squad, James Harden's basketball output has not gone down at all. I mean, is it a shut case? I know we only have 9 games left, but is he the clear-cut winner for MVP, or are you still trying to wave the flag of somebody else?
I'm kind of partial right now. You look at James Harden and what he's meant to the Houston Rockets, and my thing about the MVP is, if you take that player off the team, where would they be? If you take Giannis off the Bucks, where would they be? Do you honestly think the Bucks would be number 1? I don't. No, I really don't.
I think they're a playoff team still without him.
They're a playoff team, right? And Houston's a playoff team without Harden too. With CP3,
okay.
They got
PJ Tucker,
Eric Gordon,
PJ Tucker,
Eric Gordon. So I mean, I still think that, but I still think it's closer than maybe what people think. I think Harden's done enough, but I think both Giannis and I think Embiid, I mean, that was your guy at the beginning of the season. I think once Embiid came back from that injury and just dominated game after game after game after game, I think he really put his foot down on the pedal to kind of catch up to those two guys, in my opinion. I mean, we talked about Paul George could be in
Yeah,
this
I was going to say.
Paul George kind of, with the injury that he had, he kind of slowed down a little bit.
Yeah, he did.
Westbrook kind of took over a little bit. Paul George is still second right now in the league with 28.2 points per game. James Harden, though, 36.5. 36.5. I mean, 36.5. Let's see, 36.5 is seventh all time in season average. The most since Michael Jordan had 37.1 points in 1987. I mean, it just goes to show what he's doing. I mean, we were talking about Harden, James Harden, first player in NBA history to score 30-plus points against all 29 NBA teams in the same season.
Let that sink in.
I mean, you can't. I mean, it's insane what he's doing. I think Giannis and I think Embiid have a shot at it, but with the records that Harden's setting, with the scoring fury that he's coming with, and the shots that he's making, the shot that he made against Golden State earlier in the season to win, where Green and they were all
Klay Thompson
all over him. They were all over him, and he just knocked it down like he didn't even matter. He's taking over in fourth quarters of games, and that's what matters most. And he's getting rebounds, he's getting assists. He's got an all-around game. I still don't think it's a slam dunk that he gets it. It's definitely closer than it was earlier in the season. But in my opinion, with what James Harden's doing, with the show that he puts on, with the scoring that he's doing right now, I still think it's James Harden's to lose. Yeah, no,
I think James Harden is the most valuable player of the NBA this season. And my one concern moving forward for his team is how much has he got left in the tank? Because, when CP3 was out, he was doing all the heavy lifting. And I wonder what the Rockets are going to do as far as minute restriction, or like he says all the time when they interview him, he's a hooper. He's a hooper. Let's play ball. He's a ball player. So maybe he's fine. I just wonder, come Western Conference Finals or semifinals, how much more oomph does that guy have left? But if Chris Paul can finally stay healthy, and maybe he's the guy that helps take some of that burden off of James Harden in the playoffs, that'd be nice to see. If there's anybody who deserves a fair shot to make an NBA final or a Western Conference final and not have any restrictions, it's Chris Paul. You can go back to the Hornet days, to the Clipper days. It's always something in the playoffs. Wow. Hamstring, shoulder. Just for once, God, let this man be healthy.
Can you imagine if he was healthy last year?
Oh yeah, I think they win. I think they win. They win. Can you
imagine where that would have gone?
Yeah.
I mean, come on. One game. That's all they needed him for, was one game, and they were in there.
I think they win that series.
It happens that way sometimes. You never know when it's going to happen. But of all the guys in the league that deserve it, you're right. It's him. It's him. It's what he does for the league. What he does for the community and stuff like that, the work that he does, the kind of guy that he is. Yeah, he's passionate, Yeah, he's in your face.
I don't mind that at all.
Right, I don't mind that. It's basketball. That's basketball.
Yeah.
Nobody got on Michael Jordan because he was all up in people's face. The competitive mentality that he had.
Yeah, Kobe Bryant.
It was like no other. Yeah. Right, it was like no other. But that's what you need to be great in the NBA. And I think Chris Paul has it, and I think he's proved it throughout his career. And I think him coming to Houston, I won't say I'm sold on it, but I'm they're 3 in the West. I'm going to say it. I think they're going to make the finals this year. I'm just going to say it out loud.
Ooh.
I've said it out loud. I think that with the additions that they've made, with Harden the way he's playing this year, if Chris Paul stays healthy in the playoffs, I see them in the finals.
They need 24-hour medical care, cryovac chamber, oxygen tank, everything for Chris Paul. Keep that guy masseuse on standby when the game is over, so this guy can be healthy and they can make a run. Good conversation there, man. Hey, before we get out of here, you have any other topics or things you want to talk about, Pat?
Just a couple things that I wanted to hit on.
For sure.
We didn't really hit on it, but hey, man, the only players with 5 straight triple doubles. We didn't mention it, but I got to throw it out there.
This guy.
Only players with 5 straight triple doubles in the NBA. Westbrook did it 5 times. Oscar Robinson did it 3. Wilt did it twice. Michael Jordan and Elfrid Payton.
Who?
Let that sink in. Elfrid Payton with the Pelicans. That guy, when he... remember we used to talk about him because of his hair? He was in Atlanta. What the heck is up with that? So, yeah, gotta give a shout-out to him, man. That's just crazy to hear that kind of stuff. A couple other things. We talk about active players right now in the league with 50 point, 15 rebound, 5 assist games. Active. We're talking about Giannis. We're talking about Westbrook. We're talking about Davis. And we're talking about Harden. I mean, think about that. Harden, 50 points, 15 rebounds, 5 assists. That's a shooting guard.
Yeah.
We're not talking about a 6'9", 6'8". You know what I mean? I mean,
it just furthers his case.
I mean, geez, flip. And then, of course, Giannis was this year. Giannis had 52, 16 rebounds, 7 assists, and a loss to the Sixers.
That was a fantastic game, too.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's crazy. A couple of things. The Bucks win at the Heat. They're the first team to trail by 20 points at the half and win by 11 points. Just goes to show you it doesn't matter what they're down by, man. That team can turn it on. Got to give a shout out to Jimmer Fredette, man.
Signed with the Suns.
Signed a 2-year deal with the Suns. You know, that's awesome. We got Giannis to actually have his first signature shoe to send during the playoffs. He's going to come out with his first signature shoe, so that's big. And I'm going to leave it with this. Because this guy has done it throughout his entire career. And Lou Williams scored 34 points in a win over the Celtics and passes Del Curry for the most points off the bench in NBA history.
That guy, we talked about Lou Williams. Should have been an all-star.
That guy should have been an all-star like 10 times.
Yeah.
You know what he does for the teams that he goes to, the sacrifice that he makes coming off the bench, being as good as he is. You know, I mean, there's very few players in the league that can do what he does and still just sit on the bench.
Lou Williams is the boss. Yeah.
So definitely got to give a shout out to Lou Williams. You know, going, you know, just crazy. That's crazy. Most points ever off the bench.
He's a Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
I think he could be.
And something, too, we didn't get a chance to talk about because we didn't have a show last week is, and I know it's old news now, but I definitely wanted to give us a chance to give our opinion on it without getting too political on a basketball podcast. But Russell Westbrook, the incident they had in Utah, we obviously know what was happening there with the fan making a comment that Russell Westbrook, found to be disrespectful and out of line. The fan obviously said he didn't say that. Come to find out he did. Fan has been banned from not just Jazz games, but from that arena, period.
That's crazy.
And then a couple of days later, or maybe it happened before, I can't remember, you had Blake Griffin called boy at a game. That fan kicked out of the stadium. I mean, I'll share my thoughts first, man. These guys are professional athletes. They're at their workspace. If you work for Johnson Real Estate, no fellow real estate agent, nobody looking for a house is going to walk to your office, call you everything but your name, yell at you. It's one thing to boo, say you suck. It's something different to start using racial slurs or using stuff that people can find derogatory. When you buy a ticket, it doesn't give you a green light to be and act however you want, to touch players. You go there, you watch the game, you enjoy the game. You made a great point a couple shows ago about how you don't even use your phone during the game because you paid to watch the game, not live tweet highlights. So when these guys and girls buy tickets, it doesn't give you the right to call people the N-word or gay or whatever, man. You're there to watch a basketball game, and that basketball court, that's their sacred place. And you're disrespecting that. And I know we're in a really hot time now in America where everything you say has to be guarded and watch what you say because you might hurt someone's feelings. But respect is respect. And everybody at some point in your life was taught respect. And like I said, no one's going to go to Safeway and berate a cashier while they're ringing up people, calling them every name but their name. So what gives you the right to go to a basketball game and do the same thing? I just don't get it.
I agree with you 100%. The one thing that I have to say about it is when you're out there and you're out, like it's a competitive sport. And if you're a Magic fan, if you're a Wizards fan, in my case, if I go to a Wizards game, I'm for the Wizards, right? I might heckle the guys. I mean, that's part of the game.
Yeah.
You're going to hear that kind of stuff. Definitely do I agree that you should not be using any derogatory, anything like talking about anybody's mom, anything like that. That's just rude. I was brought up different than that, so I'm not going to do that. I think that when you talk about sporting events, though, and I'm not making excuses, but I think that alcohol can give people that courage to do things.
Yeah, liquid
courage,
yeah.
Right? And I'm not making excuses, but I think that sometimes that does factor into it. But I still think, even still, the NBA is doing the right thing. I think the Jazz did the right thing. I think the Jazz sent out a message to the league that, hey, we're not going to stand for this. You can come to a game. Yeah, you want to heckle fans. And I think the other thing is, too, is the fans are just up close and impersonal, especially sitting courtside. I mean,
Yeah.
I've never sat courtside. I've sat right behind courtside once, but